Hey,
Hi,
Mama! Hey! Miss Keri Silver Lining, baby.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going? We're recording. Are you cool with that?
That's cool. Let's
Awesome.
go.
So welcome, everybody. Welcome, Keri Silver Lining Mena. And this is Nora Yolis Young, and thank you for joining us on The Experience as I knock over my water. And today we have a really amazing guest. This gal is a very important guest because she, for me, reflects the kind of awakening process that's happening that we as humanity really need to have conversations about. Keri is the person, and I'm going to get a little bit more into her bio in a second, but Keri is the type of person who is really straddling dimensions, among other things. And
Funny girl.
and we, I think, are ready to start having a conversation to learn how to have conversations with people about these kinds of things in a way that's non-judgmental and doesn't just close the door, that is heart-opening and just understanding. And so that's really the direction I want to take with this conversation. I just want to have a really good time. You're a lot of fun, and it doesn't have to be such a heavy, intense time. It can be something that we look forward to as a people, to just join and lock arms in our special, unique light and shine forward. And that's what this show is really about, too. It's about your experience. So, hello, my dear. How are you today?
Hi, Nora. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing good. So, I'm sure you've had, I got a long, detailed exciting story about your new love relationship, which is very exciting, and we're going to talk about that. But let me just get the sort of cursory stuff over with. So, having experienced a spiritual awakening in 2014, and I really am going to want you to talk about that more, Keri became instantly immersed in all things metaphysical. She was led to Erik Medhus, who we will also discuss for people who may not know who that special darling is, and he helped her start her on her spiritual journey. She credits Erik and other members of her soul family for guiding her in her current path. For nearly 3 years, Keri has hosted The Shiny Show with her illustrious partner, Allison, where they interview those from the other side of the veil, including historical figures, celebrities, planets, archangels, elementals or elements, and gods themselves. She also has a new YouTube channel called Stardust, in which she and her soul sis, Mena, explore their relationship with the Sarsar, a tall white alien race that lived beneath a mountain in Nevada. So, whoa! Everyone is probably like, "Holy smoke!" So if you haven't checked out the Shiny Show, people, you really should do that. So in the experience, I really am fascinated by people who are having a spiritual awakening, and that is really kind of the crux of my work as a hypnotherapist, is helping people connect with that aspect of themselves, that broader aspect, and bring it into their human experience. But tell me, Keri, about your awakening.
Well, I always say that waking up is messy work, and I know we all have varying degrees of the mess. But mine, I was a wreck. I really fell apart with mine. I was slammed so hard, and prior to this, I wasn't really involved in metaphysical stuff at all. I sort of took a little interest in like the ghost hunting shows, but I didn't grow up with any kind of religious belief, and actually I was like anti-religion, so that was part of the duality of where I'm at. Not so much religion, well yeah, religion, but that was connected to spirituality and all of that, so I rejected it all. So I came into this thing with like no preconceptions except a bad attitude about the Bible. But
so
it doesn't
part
necessarily have
of
to
like
be connected.
Did your parents sort of raise you in that way? They were also sort of anti-Bible?
Not really. It was just nothing.
Uh-huh.
But as a little girl, I was in a preschool, and it was just probably a Mother's Day out thing, probably just inexpensive, and probably why I went to the Christian one. But I remember they had a felt board, and they did this little enactment of how, the 7 days. And I was just like, God, no, that's not happening. I mean, it just didn't make any sense to me. And I always,
the earth was created in 7 days?
Yeah, whatever the story is, it's not the truth, for me. So I always rejected it, and I got angry about it. It just made me mad. So when this happened to me, I mean, now in retrospect, I know that, higher self me, who I'll just go ahead and tell you right now, she calls herself Fairy Girl. So if I refer to Fairy Girl, I'm referring to my higher self. I don't know where I was going with this, but Fairy Girl.
You're awakening. So how?
Right.
Give me like a human timeline. Give me ages. So you were in preschool and you already know that you had a trigger to religious indoctrination.
Okay, I'll give you a chronology, because there is one significant thing that I'll just mention and then skip over and come back to. But when I was in my 20s and I was first married, and this is me, this is Keri, I don't have a filter, you already know this. When I would get freaky with my husband, the room around me would change. I would see a different room, and each one would be a different theme. And I didn't know what it was, and it always made me cry. It wasn't a good experience for me.
Oh, it was bad. It wasn't pleasant.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I don't know why. I mean, it didn't scare me, but it was strange, and it just left me feeling sad. Well, fast forward, and I had this was 20 years later, and, years worth of antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds and, all the shit that we go through. And I didn't know it at the time. That's an important
piece, too. I think a lot of people can really relate to that piece.
Well, I just got this want to clean my body up. And I guess I was getting a little bit spiritual, because I wanted to have my third eye open and just see things. And so I knew that being on any kind of medications would inhibit that. So I started to wean myself off, and, that created problems too, because then I was like, nutters. And then when I was just off of them, I just, your body really just changes. So I remember I was on a Florida vacation with my family, and I was looking through the Groupons, the local Groupons, and there was one for a free hypnosis, or not free, sorry, $20, $20 hypnosis. And I'm like, and it could be anything you wanted. Wow. So I'm like, I'm going to do a past life regression. So I go in there.
Don't expect those prices from me, people.
Right. This is a one-time thing. I mean, the universe led me there, because I couldn't have afforded anything, more at that time.
That was perfect. Awesome.
It was perfect. So, and I had already kind of come across Erik at this point. And let me go ahead and start with Erik.
Well,
or you want to talk about Erik?
I'll bring you back to Erik. Yeah, I want to keep on your chronology, and then I'll bring you back.
Well, in this past life regression, I saw my surroundings, and you guide people. What do you see? What are you wearing? To try to get clues about timelines. And was there electricity? And I don't know if it was because I was in Orlando or what, but the whole thing had a Disney theme. And I told my hypnotherapist that I was in Geppetto's village, so it looked like to me. And the bedroom that I was in was like bed knobs and broomsticks. It was like the brass beds with the whatever they're called.
The little round.
The doodleberries, yeah.
The doodleberries.
Right. And on the bed, and there was a bedspread with a patchwork quilt. On the bed was Erik, just smiling at me, and I loved him. I loved him, and I didn't know what any of this was about.
Was this the first time you're laying eyes on him in this life? Of your awareness of him? No,
I don't think so. Because I kind of knew about him, and then. Well, anyway, I know we're going to have to go back and forth. Yeah. What ended up happening in this life that I was remembering? This was my life as a whore in a brothel, and he was my best customer, and I was very in love with him. And then, through some time, I realized that that's what I was remembering in my 20s, when I would be having sex, and the room would change to all these. I mean, I would see the velvet swirly wallpaper.
So it would change to a brothel.
I would be in the different rooms of the brothel.
Oh my gosh! Wow! Oh my gosh! And so your recollection of Erik is of your best customer who you were in love with.
I was in love with.
I always wonder, don't you ever, well, I guess maybe you never did wonder. I always wondered about that, like when you're working in the love industry, the romance industry, like it would probably be really natural to fall for someone who's nice to you. Like,
right.
I would imagine.
And just based on the feelings that I felt and when I kind of tune into that a little bit, I know I wasn't happy. I mean, who's happy in the whorehouse? I mean, I'm just assuming that that's the norm. You're not very happy there. So he was like my light. And then this is interesting about this particular life, Nora, is that I have met so many other people that have been in that life too. And we're just connecting these dots. Like Emma, I was in Belgium, and Emma's one of Erik's channelers. You know Emma? She starts talking to me about when she was a hooker in a brothel in the Old West. I said, wait a minute. I know that life. So I found out later on that she was Erik's love interest. But she turned him down and ended up with her current husband. So I was like sloppy seconds. So Erik was my love. And our friend Sarah was in that life.
Really?
She was married to her son, Adam. She'd send Adam over to me because she was done having babies.
So let me just say this, that people who are familiar with your show, Joyride Show, and, I think that's it. Are you on other? Oh, no. And also on Channeling Erik. On Channeling Erik. So just to give people a sense, like this is a community of metaphysical moms that I am so lucky to be a part of. And it is such a cool group. And so what you're talking about is finding out not only are there connections in this life, but these connections stretch beyond to this lifetime with Erik and with Emma and Sarah. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Many others in that life have come up and, made comments. And I'm like, I know that life. So I've got about 10 people that I'm connected with. Probably many more. But I know of about 10 that were in that same life with me.
Well, let me stop you right there, too. And because I'm also very interested in getting out there, like the subtleties of awakening. And I know everybody's awakening experience is going to be different, but there are some things that we can sort of pinpoint. And when it's like that bleed through feeling that you feel when you start having past life recollection. And I want to share that with other people, that idea that some people may be having these past life awarenesses, and talk a little bit about that for you.
Well, when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind is when you meet somebody and you're either drawn to them or repelled from them. And sometimes there's just no reason for it. Well, that's the reason. There was some other past life cause and effect thing that they just rubbed you the wrong way. On the flip side, we are all loving each other, but we might recognize that kind of, whatever, drawing to or,
some
pushing
sort
away
of subconscious memory, some energetic memory too, there's like an energetic dynamic as well.
And I always claim, and it's true, one of my superpowers is recognizing people from my other lives. And I just get this, I call it, a big heart chakra squeeze. Other people will say they feel it in their core or whatever it is. But for me, it seems to take I meet the person and it takes a little while, but once that little click happens, I am like, I love you. And it doesn't matter if you've done anything to earn my love or not. It's there and it's intense.
How wonderful. Well, and I want to talk about that too. And those terms that you're using are really helpful, I think, for people maybe to just get more of a nuanced understanding. I mean, you mentioned your metaphysical superpowers, and that is a beautiful concept, right? Like the idea that we're all coming into these more vast metaphysical superpowers, and not everybody is gonna, like the X-Men or whoever, you're not going to have the exact same superpowers. And so also talk about your awareness of what your superpowers are. Like we're sort of pulling even into drilling down a little bit deeper on that.
Well, not only do I have this awesome ability to recognize my people, but my other superpowers I'm a healer. I'm an energy healer. And, I just fell into that. I say I fell into it, but the truth was, I was led to it, and it was just always a part of the plan. But
so how do you know you're an energy healer?
I don't know how I knew. I just started trying it. And
well, maybe you were drawn to it, right? You were drawn to it. You wanted to try it out. What kind of modality?
I had actually my mentor. His name is Audie, and he passed away, but he was my inspiration. And when he started giving me sessions, I was so receptive to his energy. And do you know what it feels like? I mean, it's just, I call it an energetic massage, and it feels so good. I used to call him my best drug ever, because it's like energetic foreplay. It just lasts forever, and it's constant, and it feels that good.
Yeah,
so I was like, I want to make people feel that good. So I started practicing, and my biggest validation is I could feel it. You know, I feel the ball of energy here. It feels like foam in between my hands.
Right, and that's like one of the primary lessons that when you start working with energy, you start to have access to just that sensation of your own energetics, right? And then the ball.
And I want to speak about something that I'm going to switch gears just a little bit.
Do it.
Because my healing is just so crazy sometimes. I do sessions, and say my session is at 11 o'clock, but I'm spacing out on Facebook and still scrolling and forgot. My hands remember, and they let me know. They turn on. Cool. The intention was set when I made the appointment with the person. So even if I'm not there, my hands are there. Wow. And I'll be done with my 30 minutes, but they're not done. They're still going. And I want to talk about how powerful intention is. And what recently I bet all these really smart epiphanies, and my latest one, or one of them, is that magic is synonymous with intention. You want to create magic, you just set your intentions. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had such a bastardization of the term magic, and so that it's taken away. It's like there's so much occult sort of spoiling of it, but magic should be, in my opinion, a beautiful word, a word that reflects the magic that we miss in our lives every day, that's happening constantly, the synchronicities, the the delicious, when you see all those numbers lining up for you, or you're having that coincidence encounter, or it just lines up. The other day I was so late to pick up my kids, and I was like, I know time doesn't really exist, so I'm going to be there on time. And I was a good 15 minutes late, but I got there exactly on time because I refused to admit that I was going to be late to myself.
Look at that intention. Isn't that something?
Magic.
And it really does work. And, for people like me and you, I can see how we like the word magic. Yeah. But again, it's just another word for something else. And it's like, instead of praying, I send sparkles, I cast spells, or whatever it is, but it's all the same thing, and it's all energy work.
Yeah, well, and casting sparkles is just it feels so yummy.
I know, huh? Yes, have some sparkles.
Okay. You can never have too many sparkles.
Okay, so I'm going to keep going with my awakening.
Do it.
Because it got radical. So once I realized that some shit's going on, well, actually, I didn't know what was happening next. What was happening was that I was healing and purging for myself, this life, other lives. Not only that, I didn't realize this until maybe 6 months ago, but Fairy Girl had decided it was a good idea to make one of her, earth jobs to be a vortex for the negative energies of the universe.
Wow.
So I would do these transmutation cycles, and it was like being manic, and I'd be really, really happy for just a few days, and I could conquer anything. But then I would crash, and I would be so messed up. I mean, I don't even know how I'm still alive, because the emotional pain was so bad. And even though all my guides and all the readings I had would say, you're going to be okay, you're going to be okay, I didn't want to wait that long because it was that bad. And I was a vortex. I was sucking in all of the negative energy and channeling it into the earth to be recycled. But I didn't know that. So what happened is that I would have this, it was grief. I felt like I was grieving. And I didn't know what it was from, so I would assign it to something in my life. And that made whatever that assignment was become a real thing. So now I'm healing for everybody else, and I've created a problem that I'm trying to get out of, and it's not even really mine. So I had to do that for a couple of years, and this went on and on and on, and I didn't even understand what I didn't even put two and two together that I'd be up and down and up and down, up and down. That took a while.
Well, let me
And
pause you there. Like, I want to address the chronic, so a person who wouldn't know that they're having a spiritual awakening, that those are the symptoms of bipolar disorder.
Yes!
And so mental illness, I think people are being really, really freaked out, and my therapist family and loved ones are going to just absolutely balk at this, but the idea that it's energetic in nature, and how you associated a focus that was healing, and then transmuting the nature of the pain on the planet is such a beautiful way of doing it, and it is healing the planet. You heal with those intentions to heal yourself, as above, so below.
Yeah, and with that healing came personal healing, because I started off, I would watch, the daytime TV. As I was a stay-home mommy, I had young kids, so I'd watch it, and every time a new drug commercial would come on, I'd be like, ooh, maybe I could try that one. I have so many pills, and every time I go to the doctor, I'd be like, I want this and this, because I just thought I was helping myself more and more and more. I didn't know. So since then, I have healed from fibromyalgia, and somebody said to me recently, well, no wonder you had it. You're an empath, and you dumped all of the surrounding people's pain on yourself, because the fibromyalgia is a weird one. It's just unexplained pain.
Well, yeah. Oh.
And then I also had things like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, anxiety, depression. I have polycystic ovaries, which I have to have like insulin issues. All of that is done. My doctors are like, whatever you're doing, keep on doing it.
That's
Except
amazing.
for the one doctor, Nora, that gave me a little quiz online and said, you are, did she say bipolar? I can't remember if she said bipolar, but she was ready to send me to the psychiatrist. And the fairy girl had said, like 2 weeks after that, she goes, if you went to a doctor and had been diagnosed, they would send you to the psychiatrist. So, clearly she already knew that had happened just a little bit ago, but it is true. Spiritual awakening very much mimics psychosis.
Well, and I think that's, go ahead.
Through my Shiny show, some of the guests I've had have been, what's his name, Freud. I got diagnosed by Freud and Carl Jung. So,
I didn't see those shows. What do they say? What did they diagnose you as?
Well, Jung said I'm batty. He's right.
The official diagnosis is?
Right, batty. And and then I can't remember which one of it. I think it was Freud that said that I short-circuited. And I did. It's like I needed a complete restart. I needed a jump start. So I got so deep in my pain and my psychosis, and I was broken. I didn't have anything like I had lost a child or anything that was really overtly or obvious to grieve about. But just, it doesn't, everybody has their own path, and we're all hurt in different ways or whatever.
Well,
so I feel fortunate.
If you're grieving in terms of the grief of the pain of the entire planet, you better believe that's pretty freaking painful.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
I couldn't understand it, but I did appreciate that the universe, in order to break me and start me over, they didn't have me, have my catalyst to be the loss of a child. So, I appreciate very much my friends Sarah and Elisa having gone through that, and I'm like, whew, I broke too, but mine was almost pretend in a way, I didn't have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well,
and then,
maybe also being such a visible example of how the shift can be really painful and observably difficult. People who are, and whoever's watching this may resonate with you, who are seeing people who are like Keri, who are going through these trials and tribulations in life that the diagnoses aren't really resonating with them, but they're still struggling. Like the awakening is happening, and people are really going through this. So, follow your guidance. I'm not going to give advice on how to unfold that for you, but you're watching this for a reason.
Yeah, so let me give a little bit of hope, because all I've done is talk about the doom. Because there is a reason for this. And I was just last night kind of marveling about the duality of my entire life. Like before, and I just recently, I don't know if you saw this one, but I channeled, or Allison channeled on the Shiny Show, my mom's higher self. Because I have a really tumultuous relationship with my mom. And I was like, when she dies, I'm going to invite her on. I was like, I don't need to wait till she dies. I can do it now.
Hello.
So that was pretty healing in itself right there. But
I got to watch that.
Yeah, it was kind of anticlimactic, because I thought I was like my mom, like, but it was still very, very nice. And it kind of let's see. Okay, so the duality. When I was a little girl, or my whole life, adult and child, my mom just stifled me. I wasn't allowed to have a voice. I wasn't allowed to cry. I just had to be quiet and be good.
You weren't allowed to cry?
I know.
What?
So now look at me. Now not only do I tell everybody everything, but I got people crying along with me and telling me how much it touched them. So there's one duality. And then some of them are small. Like I used to not have any money at all. I mean, like I would have to count each penny for each thing. And now I can just go out and get a Starbucks whenever I feel like it. Wow. And I'm not rich by any means, but going from being completely poor to not having to worry about a cup of coffee with my friends is a huge difference.
Yeah.
And then
that's like true freedom right there.
It really is. It really is. And there were just so many other things. I had a whole list of them yesterday, but it went on and on and on. So what I learned is that this awakening changed the old patterns of my life. Oh, here's another good one. I lived a life of practical celibacy, and that's not the case anymore. We can talk about that.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, honey. Because everybody needs to know that is something that is happening in the world.
Yeah, so if anybody is experiencing these heart crashes and stuff, just know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And one of my friends said, I am a way shower. And I am. I am a way shower too, because I feel like I was one of the first ones in the big awakening. I mean, I know people have been doing this for a while, but I was one of the first ones. And so now here I am, thanks to you and other forums like this, sharing about it for the people that are coming behind and doing the same thing. Because I didn't have a guidance. When I was looking online and trying to find information, it was still so unclear. And, I got caught up in the twin flame craziness, and I thought I had one, and I was going to, we were going to hook up and save the world together. None of that happened. I mean, twin flame is not at all what those old, posts.
But there's a lot of people sort of processing through that distinction, and it's funny you're talking about, because I was chatting with a friend about that too. But I'm glad that you're bringing the hope piece in. So if there's anybody who's watching this right now and feeling like this is really resonating for them, don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. You have a special gift to offer the world, and honestly, if you do decide to end it now, okay, that's fine. But why not? If you know that you're a spiritual being living in a human physical experience, just give it your all. Before, we're all going to kick the bucket at one point. Might as well just go big. Just go big.
Just hang in there. Because I remember Erik said one time, Allison and I were talking to him, and we said, we asked him, so Erik, is it better to just be dead and in heaven, or better to be on Earth in the fifth dimension, elevated?
And Erik actually did kill himself. He committed suicide at the age of 20 in 2009, right? 2009?
Yes, 2009.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that show called Sense8 on Netflix?
No.
Okay, I'm going to give you a really brief synopsis, and you tell me if it sounds familiar. Okay. There's Daryl Hannah. Her character shoots herself in the head, and from the flip side, she leads her other cluster to each other, and they're all connected telepathically, and find each other on Earth.
Did this just come out?
It's in its second season, I think. I'm not sure,
it's a
but
TV show, so it's totally
on
Erik's
Netflix.
story.
It's my story.
Yeah, it's your story. That's amazing. Okay, so Erik is in the house. We're going to be talking about Erik. So Erik, I gave a brief little story, and Erik's mom. Well, Erik has written a book through a channel, and his mom has written a book, and she has a show on channeling Erik. And what's unique about this show is that Erik is an incredibly prolific communicator with the Earth realm, and he first of all, he's hilarious, and his energy is wonderful, and he's totally irreverent. He's totally himself. But he, like you and Allison in the Shiny Show, also bring forward amazing people to be interviewed through channels like Emma and now Veronica, and like I heard. Did you hear the L. Ron Hubbard interview?
Not yet.
Oh my gosh, it was awesome. Whoa.
Is that a good one? Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Okay,
well, and I've been paying attention to the Scientology thing because I'm fascinated by it. But it's amazing. It's interesting. So Erik is a part of your soul group.
Yes. Yes, and I get a little starstruck sometimes, and I think, wow, I'm part of Erik. And then you know how Erik is. I immediately go, yeah, well, you're part of me. You don't get too big for your britches, boy, because you're just as equally me.
I mean, it's amazing how big that energy is, and the energy of upliftment. I mean, I think that's ultimately what is happening here in this awakening for people who are sort of leading the way. It's it's incumbent on them, and I think it's their sole choice to be the leaders in like just helping people, like say, okay, you're distracted, come to what the real purpose is, and this is to like have an amazing life, to love each other, and make this a better place to live.
Yeah, you know what? This is you said we come to love each other. And, you hear this stuff all the time, but I want people to really think about this. We come here to love. And even though I'm doing this big shiny show and I'm reaching all these people and my stardust and all this stuff, ultimately, all of my learning comes from my loving. So just the littlest things, even if it's just your puppy that you love, that's what you're going to take back with you. And that's the most significant thing. I'm not even one of those big guru kind of people. I'm getting that shit too. It's love. It's love.
Well, and I think in a moment of love, you can change the world in that moment. I mean, you are transmuting. And I think there's been so much bastardization of love. I mean, like, oh, that's just hippie, long-haired hippie woo-woo shit. And it's just, like the other day I was hugging a tree, and the energy that I received from that experience was life-changing. And the tree changed my life, And in just that moment of interconnectedness. And we can have that experience with everything. And your love it's a massive love. And I think people... like you have a lot to offer in helping people understand how to love under amazing conditions. I mean, and that kind of brings me to your relationship. I don't know if this is the right time for it, but you have like an earthly human nuclear family. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about that. Talk about your earthly family.
Let me go ahead and explain why the other one's okay.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and I think that these dynamics are important to communicate to people. Yeah.
And I've been the chosen one. I chose, thanks, Fairy Girl, to just spill it. My husband's over there.
Spill it.
But it took my guy. My guys really tried hard to get me to realize that I am to have an unconventional relationship with my husband. And I was bitter about it for a while because it didn't seem fair. I want to be in a happy, perfect picket fence life. And for all intents and purposes, that's what it looks like from the outside looking in. But my husband and I spent a lot of time just fighting, and I didn't know if we were going to make it. But because I am who I am, and I have the friends that I have and the connections, I've pieced together that he and I, our path is, of course we have free will, it doesn't have to be this way, but this was the hopeful path, that we would end up becoming the very best of friends. But I told you earlier that I lived like this long life of, celibacy, but I'm not a celibate kind of girl. And all of my incarnations, I have been a very sexual person. So apparently I wasn't going to put up with that celibacy for the entire lifetime here.
Now, was that an agreement that you and your husband came to, like just in your relationship, or it just sort of eased into that, or how did that?
Well, it wasn't an ease. Mm-hmm. It was like a lot of fighting and stuff. But we have come to the understanding that this is where it's going to be, and he's okay with it, and I'm okay with it. So basically, it's an open relationship.
So does he see other people?
He doesn't have an interest in it, and that was part of the plan, too. For him, his most important thing is family. Yeah. And he wants more than anything for the family unit to be together. But if it's not interesting, if something doesn't, he's not into it, and you can't force something. Right. But that's an on purpose. So for me to be bitter about it is wrong. It just creates problems. So I realized instead to find the silver lining to it. And it's like, this isn't on purpose, and I am to have these other relationships, and I am to share about them. And the reason I'm to do this is because I'm to teach about them and let people know that they are normal and beautiful, and they exist, and you're not crazy.
Yeah, that it's okay to find love. That it's okay to find love within a relationship. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead. Yeah.
That's okay. That's how Skype is. There's like a delay sometimes. But I have, so not only, I don't really know about my human relationships. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But I do know that I'm to teach about relationships with spirit. And I do mean romantic and sexual relationships. And the same thing with aliens. So let's talk about Avery. Okay.
And so just a funny little nuanced question. Do you feel like the word alien is derogatory? I think we've had this conversation in person. You don't think so? Yeah. No.
No, it's just, in fact, I had a hard time calling Avery an alien because his race has been on Earth longer than humans have existed.
Right, so it's not even accurate.
I was like, why are you the alien then? You were here before me. And he said, because you are native to this planet and you humans don't appreciate how significant that is. Oh, wow. And so part of the reason for us connecting too is because I'm part of the hybrid program. They want to help create their species in a way that's more acclimated to Earth life. So we're mixing shit up, and I'm having space babies.
Okay, so we're jumping ahead. So,
I know, sorry.
So I want to sort of preface this for anybody who may not be familiar with what Keri has been doing. So, and you can feel free to explain it. I don't know if I've got it totally correct, but I'll just quickly say that Avery is the love of her life, and he is not human. And he also is a multi-dimensional being, which means that he is, when they interact, it is in the etheric realms. It is in the fourth dimension, probably beyond. And they are able to have a dynamic, fulfilling, loving relationship in a very non-traditional way. So take it away.
Yes, and I didn't understand it at first. I mean, I still don't understand it completely. And I know you read that little story I sent you about how he was just always in the back of my mind. And my soul sis, Hermina, set me up because she has a relationship with her Sarsar man named Sam.
So you know 3 people now who have relationships with Sarsar men?
I think it's growing. There's at least 3 because, we have our group Stardust, which, feel free to join Stardust on Facebook. And the Sarsar just put it out there. We're interested in having relationships with the human women. And it can go the other way too, but it just seems to be this way more. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons for that is because there are more Sarsar men here. And that's just because the jobs that are here appeal to them. It doesn't have anything to do with sexism or anything like that. And just let me go ahead and put out there that the Sarsar are actually very human. They're human in a lot of ways. I've spoken on my Shiny show to many different aliens, and some of them are so high vibrational that they're already feeling like archangels, or they just know everything. But the Sarsar, while they are more advanced than us in many ways, they're still very human, and they have human emotions, and they get jealous. it's it's unnerving because I know he hears my every thought. We're connected telepathically, and so I feel uncomfortable when I have
talk
thoughts
about
somebody else.
transparency. See, this is where we're heading to, people. Like when you have secrets from your loved ones, we're evolving to a place where we're fully telepathic. So start to move beyond that and get like really real and honest with yourself, because having that transparency with yourself will enable you to have more transparent relationships and loves where you don't have to hide shit. You can just be who you are. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so
wait, wanted to ask you, has Avery been jealous of you? Does he get jealous? Have you felt that? Oh, what is that?
I don't feel it, but he's told me. Oh. He's told me that he's like, yeah, he does. My husband doesn't like him.
Well, yeah, your husband gets to hang out with you nonstop. I can see.
Well, that's what I thought too. And I asked the higher selves in my group, what appeals to them to be married to us, and they explained it. And he goes, the higher self said, you're thinking in human terms. You got to think in Sarsar terms. So actually, I'm with Avery more than I'm with my human.
Oh, husband,
like because it's telepathic all the time.
Oh,
But how often do you see your husband really? I mean, he goes to work. I'm at the grocery store, and we spend time together. But Avery's with me all the time, and I don't realize that yet. But I'm told I will. I'm still cracking open. I'm still doing my growing and my purging and all that. But
and you are human. Yeah, I mean, you're an Earth human, so.
Right.
By all means, do your human thing. That's probably part of the appeal, right? I saw when when Heather was channeling him and you guys were getting engaged that he it just flew out of my mind, but that crap.
Welcome to my world.
Oh, what was it that he
It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back. Dang.
Okay, you interrupt me when it pops in. It'll come back.
Okay.
So, and you also read in that story that it is not just an energetic relationship. I am getting taken.
No. So if you have children in the room that are not able to handle very explicit sexual dynamics, please do the parental thing. But this is an important piece, because I think there's also a lot of tabooism around sexuality, and we're all sexual beings. So I want to create an environment where we can be really open and honest about multidimensionality and sexuality and the part that can play.
Yeah, just a little side note. It took me a while, until recently, to realize how sexual humans are. It's a driving force for us, whether we love it and we want to watch porn all the time, or whether we're going out and doing it, or whether we're avoiding it because it's offensive to us. One way or the other, sex is such a big part of humanity.
Right, and there's so much imbalance around that too, because we've had so much repression and negativity around it, so much shaming, so much inappropriateness.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that both Avery and I want to teach our respective species about, is to lighten up already. It's a natural thing. It feels good. The gods made our bodies this way for a reason, not just to have shame and procreate. Although that procreating stuff is pretty fun too.
Well, right, but I mean, it's like back in the day, with the whole potato sack with a hole in it. You must not enjoy this. Why would there be so many nerve endings? There.
Right.
Why would it
feel
so good? Yeah, I mean, why? It just doesn't make sense. But one of the cool things that I remember hearing in that interview is that the anatomy of the Sarsar women are different than the human female, and so their vaginas actually close until they're ready to have sex. There's no penetration possible unless they're ready. But I think that's also another thing that's gotten out of whack too, is that human females can have sex whether they really want it or not.
Yeah, we get ripped off sometimes, but those Sarsar men, they have their work cut out for them, because they got to get their girls ready or they're not getting it at all.
Access denied.
The way he described that, and then the reasons for it. Let me just tell you real quick. They have an not unconventional, just different from ours vagina, and the reason for that is to accommodate the size.
The size, the massive size. Well, and the thing that you said, that you were feeling his energetic,
right,
cock up into your chest?
Yeah. It was like he was thrusting in me. It was so weird. I'd never experienced that before. Yes, a big fat one. I loved it. But I am enjoying this. Oh, let me tell you this story too, because now that I've learned, Erik's like, you got to write about your stuff. Don't be shy. You think about doing it and you put it off and then you do it anyway. Well, quit. Just do it. This is what you're supposed to do. And that gave me a lot of confidence. So thank you, Erik. But, I'm going to say her name wrong, but you'll know exactly who I mean. But Selena Quinceañera.
Do I know her? I don't know.
There's Selena. 20 years ago, who was killed.
Oh, Selena. Yeah. The singer.
Selena. I have a little twisty story about her. She's been kind of like getting on Heather, just, being an awareness of her. Well, we found out she really wanted us to interview her on Stardust, and Heather went ahead and trans-channeled her. And the reason for this is so beautiful, Nora. You're going to love this, because Selena's been missing her husband so much, and she's inspired by what Heather and I are doing. So she's trying to guide him to watch the video we recorded, because she wants to have that same relationship with him. She wants to have that sexual relationship with her husband. Oh, wow. So I'm like, spread the word. She says they are watching. And they're taking notice of what's going on. So not only are we teaching the humans here, but we're teaching the spirit world that they can come and have these relationships with the humans they've left behind.
I do love that, because not only is the veil thinning for humans, the veil is thinning for spirit realm too. How cool! High five!
Woo! Yeah, that trips me out. I remember I talked to Rasputin one time, and Rasputin was like a Russian.
And Rasputin, we go way back.
I know, that's funny, but he's the one that first let me know that they are also benefiting from the work that we're doing here, and that just floored me. That gave me a whole new appreciation for what's going on.
Right on. You are so. I think you're really brave to bring that out, because part of the I hate to say it, everybody, but the mind control program that's been going on the planet is this program of humiliation and ridicule for anyone who has been, who's different and who deviates from the mean, who's an outlier. And I would just really here's my little piece here is, whoever is watching this, you know what it feels like to be judged, and we all do. We all are unique, and we've all been misunderstood, and we're never going to totally understand one another, and that isn't why we're here. We're here to love one another and accept one another, and if you have a problem with that, that is your problem. And so we need to drop the judgment and understand that if you don't understand it, that's okay. Just hold space in your heart, and what that feels like is taking a deep breath, pausing and saying, like, I have the capacity to love in my heart, and maybe I don't feel that right now, but I know it'll be shown to me. And if you have a strong religious faith, whether it's with an organized religion or a spirit realm, ask your guides and the light beings that support you to give you that inspiration. You can go bigger. You can be more expansive in your capacity to love. Always. We have a great capacity.
Yes, you brought up judgment, and we are humans, and we do judge. But the difference between somebody who's trying to evolve spiritually is that you take that judgment and you find out what it's about. I said this just the other day, and that because often we judge people, but it's really just us judging ourselves.
Right, it's a
through
mirror.
Them.
Right,
so go ahead and make that judgment, but find out what's behind it and reevaluate it and find the trueness of it, because that judgment is just a bunch of bullshit anyway. So don't feel bad about the guilt. Not about the judgment.
Right. Don't judge yourself for judging.
Right.
Just like, that happened.
And I follow this particular judgment little speech with this next part, which is for every negative thing that happens, don't take on that kind of victim-y thing. Everything that happens to you negative is a lesson in disguise, so don't squander it. Mm-hmm. The sooner you can learn your lessons, the sooner you can be done with them. Mm-hmm. And let me use this example. More personal business. My husband and I told you that we just fight. It has been really shitty for the past couple of years. And I was ashamed to admit that before. I don't want people to know all I do is fight with my husband, but I recently figured out why. And it's so interesting to me, and this is like my little visual I have. We're at the bottom of this pyramid, and he's on one side, I'm at the other, and there's all this conflict in between us. And our purpose is we both love family and value it so much. And we want our family to stay together despite all of our differences. So our souls have chosen to keep meeting in the middle, compromise until we can come together at the top. Mm-hmm. So when I put that into perspective, and I realize, that there's always the 3D relationship and the spiritual relationship. And when I can make the connection between the two, there's so much more peace. So there's a reason for the fighting. And once I explained it to him, he's not as spiritual as I am, but he gets bits and pieces. That made sense to him too. Because we fight about stupid shit. We're just always fighting.
Right, like that adversarial dynamic.
I can't tell you how much the tension has dropped since both of us realized that the reason for our fighting is to learn how to stop fighting, and that's the only reason we do it. So embrace your shittiness, your shitty, fucked up stuff in your life. Embrace it and figure out what it's for, and then you can change it.
Amen, sister. That is beautiful. And I think we could do that with everything that all of the conflicts that we have in our life. And I mean, there's also a level of bravery that you're talking about. And I don't know if, we haven't really brought that out yet, but what you're talking about is an incredible bravery. You have this ability to just go for it. And there's a lot of fear. And I think, speak a little bit to that. Speak to what makes you so brave, Keri.
I don't really know because again, it's the duality. I've spent so much of my life timid and doing nothing. And now all of a sudden I'm like doing everything. And I have learned the power of manifestation. I learned that you can do whatever you want. And I've had a lot of encouragement and a lot of support from my spirit team, and that helped me a lot.
So maybe listening to the non-physical realm. I mean, I think too, so you must have been paying attention to signs. How did you start listening more?
Actually, I'm very guilty of not being a very good listener to signs necessarily. And I'm told by my guides that I will always be the one that needs validation from them. So most of my information does come through mediums and channeled messages. And I'm not endorsing that because I'm truly endorsing that you listen within. I'm not so good at that though. But I'm following somebody's rules because, or advice because it's working for me.
Well, I think that's an important piece for people so as people are starting to come into their awareness and just understanding more of their relationship to their non-physical self and the non-physical realm that surrounds them and infuses them and us. Just starting to pay attention to the various things. I mean, yes, go to mediums. Yes, go to psychics. Use
that information. Yeah. We have it. Don't feel like you're cheating on life. Because if you're not supposed to know something, they won't tell you. But there's so much information that you can benefit from. Ultimately, you are supposed to trust yourself, but there's nothing wrong. And I encourage, getting information like this. And Nora, I want to go ahead and share something else, what I'm kind of doing right now in my personal life. Let me go back to my husband and me real quick. In that once you realize what the purpose is, the lesson is, you can dive into it. Instead of just waiting for it to happen or never even knowing what's happening to you. So here's my newest thing. And I have I have a really low self-esteem. I view myself as being hideous and ugly. And I'm really trying to, I know, I'm so bad to myself. I mean, my inner dialogue's been going and I've been rolling around in my shame for a few days or a couple weeks.
You got to call me, girl.
Well, see, I'm trying to admit it to myself because these thoughts are so deep inside me that I'm trying to bring them out to the surface. So anyway, my point is that I am actively reprogramming and changing this about me because I know it's not who I am. I know it's been, this is really good. I'm just saying the same stuff I said last week, but whatever. I lost it.
You're reprogramming your brain.
Yeah, but there's a good one in between there. Okay, it'll come to me. So reprogramming, I'm just trying to... Oh, I know, I got it. Okay. Here it is. Perfect. You know when you are told to remember who you are? Remember who you are. Well, the way I describe it is not to remember who you are, but to remember who you are not. You are not the person the television said you are. You're not the person your parents, your peers, or anybody else, all this garbage that they threw on you and gave you these false belief systems, that's not who you are. So you got to remember who you aren't, which is just, fresh start core. So I'm starting there. I'm eliminating all of the garbage that's been dumped on me.
Amen.
And it's hard. It's hard. It's painful. Ooh.
Right. But you know what? The beautiful thing is when you start to collect morsels of yourself, when you're like, ooh, this is so delicious. When you know that you found something, when something's fascinating or delicious to you, hang on to that. Piece yourself together with all of the delicious things that you love. And I don't want to, we sort of jumped away from Avery, and we just have a few more minutes, but this is all super good stuff. But seriously, it's a plug also for hypnotherapy. If you are having issues with negative self-talk or things that are just you're getting in your own way, call somebody who can help. And hypnotherapy is one of many modalities that's super helpful for that.
Yeah, you got to find your way, which one works for you. And I'm getting slammed with suggestions, but I have, in my soul group, I have the twin. He's not the twin, but he's close enough. And I do all of my workings on him. And so I found my way. It's not for everyone. Everybody has their own thing. And you're right, there's many different modalities. And I do recommend the hypnotherapy. You're good. I still see that weird green alien over there.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Well, so let's close this up with some Avery. Where are you and Avery now? So Avery is her fiance.
I found out that Avery is part of my soul group, and that he's part of my galactic family, and that explains why my switch flipped, and I loved him so much.
Wow.
And because there was no wooing really, it was just connecting in meditation, and it just felt really good. And he told me I love you, and I'm like, really? And I'm like, well, I guess I love you too. And it crashed on me so hard. And so Heather and I are having an event in April out in the middle of the desert. Sam, the other Sarsar, helped us pick a place, and they're going to come out and see us one way or another. And we'll probably be too scared. They say that our human psyches cannot handle actually seeing them with our human eyes. So I don't know if we'll see them.
Where? I want to go.
You got to come.
Yeah.
They're going to be spying on us. They're going to be out there spying on us, and I don't know if we'll get a light show or what, but he says that we'll send them.
I don't totally believe that I can handle it. I totally can handle it.
I think I could too.
I think I can handle it. Yep.
I know.
Yeah, I used to help with autopsies. I've seen some gnarly stuff. I can totally handle it.
That's what I think. But you know what? At the same time, I walked out of the bathroom, and my husband's lying in bed exactly where he belongs. And I startled so much that I screamed. So if I can't even handle seeing my own husband in the bed that he belongs in, I don't know if I can see a 9-foot alien.
But what if we have a moment that's like a jump scare, like the kids know what jump scares are. It's a jump scare, and then you get over it, right?
I know. So Avery, come on.
Avery, dude, come on, dude. You guys, this isn't against our will. This is not against free will.
I see you, and he's so pretty. Did you see his picture?
Yeah, I saw that Heather. Was that Heather drew it?
No, a woman named Surette. She channels the drawings.
Oh, okay.
I sit on it. Here he is.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's a cool drawing, but I think he's even prettier in real life.
Hi, baby.
Baby.
Tall, super tall, not so dark. Very handsome.
So, I tend to be drawn to blondes. My husband is he's a 6'2" blonde, and I don't think
he
that
might
he's
be an alien.
Oh, for sure.
I met him. He's an alien.
Well, I met him at Burning Man, for crying out loud. It was perfect. It's just too easy being married to that man. He's just all love. I'm lucky. So, before we close out, I mean, this has been such a wonderful conversation, and I think so important. Is there anything that you would like to just sort of share in closing about where we are today as humanity is moving into this new direction in life, and you're bringing in this new energy, what would you like to sort of share with us to close out?
Well, just to close and just give people a little tidbit is that, I am an energy healer, and I have noticed at the beginning when I started this is I would tell people you may or may not feel it. It just depends on your vibration. And many people didn't feel it. And I don't even say that anymore because all of my clients now feel it. So as a collective, I feel like all of humanity has raised their vibrations. Mm-hmm. So I love that. It's just a nice validation for me and them too.
So let's plug. You have so many things going on. Let's plug everything that you could possibly plug. So you. All
right, let's do it. 30 seconds or less. Let's go.
Okay. You have the Shiny Show on YouTube.
Shiny Show on YouTube and Stardust channel on YouTube.
Okay.
And then I have my healing, silverlininghealings.com. That's my site, which really needs to be updated, but take a peek. And yeah, I guess. And then my events. I have my Stardust events. I'm having one in the spring and one in the fall. And then Allison and I are doing a Shiny tour. We're right now choosing cities across America. And we've got a couple over in UK and Ireland that we're planning for too. So you come check out me and the aliens with Hermina, or me and Allison are channeling the gods and the archangels on our tour too. And Erik, he's going to show up at all of them because he's our producer.
Well, that is so cool. And you will... people will just have their minds blown by these really, really amazing, cool shows, and they're a lot of fun. And when I put this video up in the next couple days, I will have all of that information in the little box below. So thank you so much for joining me, sweetheart. And I'm going to be in Houston, so I hope we get a chance to...
When?
I'm going to be second weekend in December, baby.
Okay, well, I'll see you real soon then, girl.
Yeah. We'll talk. We're going to get the Joy Tribe's getting together.
All right, I love you.
I love you too. Take care. Bye.